Good morning to Ms. Alina and everyone. My name is Dylan Keling. We'll talk about rural poverty in Malaysia, a persistent issue that continues to challenge national progress despite significant economic development. Rural poverty is driven by several key factors. Many communities face limited access to education, healthcare, and infrastructure, leaving them at a disadvantage. Geographic isolation and reliance on traditional agriculture further worsen the situation, as this sector often suffer from low productivity and vulnerability to climate change and economic shock. Environmental challenges like flood add to these vulnerabilities, making it harder for rural households to escape poverty. The Malaysian government has implemented various programs to tackle this issue. For example, the One Azam program provides vocational training, microcredit, and employment opportunities, while it has benefited many. Challenges like inadequate targeting and lack of follow-up have limited its success. Another initiative, the Gahai Agropolitan Project, aims to develop agriculture while improving social and economic conditions in rural areas. However, scaling this program and ensuring long-term sustainability remain significant hurdles. Beyond this, the government effort, alternative strategies are emerging. One promising approach is ecotourism, which offers rural communities opportunities to diversify their income, preserve cultural heritage, and promote environmental conservation. While ecotourism has great potential, its success depends on active community involvement and equitable benefit sharing. Historical initiatives like FELDA also offer vulnerable lessons, demonstrating the importance of sustainable economic diversification and strong community support. To address rural poverty effectively, Malaysia needs a holistic approach that combines economic empowerment, better education and healthcare access, and environmental resilience. Collaboration between the government, private sector, and local communities is crucial for creating impactful and lasting change. In conclusion, rural poverty in Malaysia is a multifaceted challenge, but with strategic and inclusive effort, we can close the gap between urban and rural communities, like works together to ensure that no one is left behind in our journey towards sustainable development. Thank you.
Let's explore the key issues that may cause rural poverty in Malaysia, beginning with geographical disparities. In Malaysia, the urban-rural divide significantly contributes to poverty. Urban centers like Kuala Lumpur receive most resources, while rural areas, particularly in Sabah, Perlis and Kedah, suffer from limited infrastructure, education, and economic opportunities. For example, rural poverty often drives migration to cities. However, this migration leads to overcrowding, with migrants living in precarious conditions due to lack of affordable housing and basic utilities. Government's initiatives, such as Belda's land settlement schemes, have helped raise rural incomes through crops like rubber and oil palm. Yet, these programs often bypass the poorest areas and suffer from structural inefficiencies such as delays in land title issuance. Economic structural limitations are another major issue. Rural areas are heavily reliant on primary commodities like rubber and palm oil, which exposes households to price fluctuations in global markets. Many rural farmers lack access to modern farming technologies and face barriers in reaching larger markets, which restricts productivity and income diversification. Infrastructures and services are also inadequate. For instance, some rural communities lack clean water, electricity, and proper sanitation, while healthcare and education services are underfunded. While dropout rates among rural youth further limit future employment opportunities, perpetuating the poverty cycle. With agriculture's declining contributions to the GDP, rural areas have struggled to adapt to Malaysia's industrialization, leaving many households economically vulnerable. Moving on to limited economic mobility, rural populations face significant challenges in breaking out of poverty. Education access is a key barrier. Many rural children drop out of school due to financial pressures, leading to a shortage of skilled labor. Employment opportunities in rural areas are scarce. The lack of industries, force rural youth to migrate to urban centers, where they often find low-wage or unstable jobs. Additionally, financial exclusion exacerbates the problem. Rural households struggle to access credit or loans, which prevents them from investing in education, small businesses, or modern farming. Without access to a financial institution, breaking free from poverty cycles becomes almost impossible. Ethnic-based policies in Malaysia, while initially aimed at addressing historical inequities, have proven inefficient in addressing rural poverty. These policies often benefit wealthier or politically connected individuals within target groups, leaving economically vulnerable rural Bumiputras unserved. Non-Bumiputras, such as low-income Chinese and Indian communities, are often excluded from affirmative action programs, further reinforcing socio-economic disparities. Moreover, these policies fail to address regional disparities. For example, rural communities in East Malaysia and the northern state of Perak lack development support and face limited agricultural modernization. Indigenous communities in remote areas face additional challenges such as geographic isolation and limited access to resources.
Hello everyone, my name is ADS504 Anastupor. Now I'll be discussing the implication of the issue arise. So the first implication is urban-centric resource allocation perpetuates inequality. Now we move to harmful effects. Structural inequality significantly impact rural communities, particularly in East Malaysia. Poor infrastructure, limited connectivity, and inadequate services hinder development in these regions, forcing residents to migrate to urban areas. In positive consequences, investing in rural infrastructure such as transportation, education, and healthcare can bridge the urban-rural divide. These improvements allow rural communities to access markets and participate in the digital economy, enhancing economic opportunities. In advantages of the implication, addressing geographical disparities reduces poverty and fosters balanced national development. It also promotes inclusivity and alleviates urban congestion by reducing migration pressures. The next implication is structural constraint and thresh rural poverty. This limitation perpetuates cycles of poverty, making it challenging for rural communities to break free. Now we proceed to harmful effects. Firstly, rural communities are vulnerable to global price fluctuations. Farmers relying on commodities face severe income instability when prices drop. They also lack access to credit, modern technologies, and reliable markets, which limits productivity. Despite these challenges, there are opportunities for positive consequences. Modernizing agriculture with affordable technologies and credit can boost productivity and income. Felder schemes, for example, have elevated rural incomes. Now we move to advantages. Addressing this structural issue can lead to diversified rural economies, reducing dependency on volatile markets. Agro-processing, rural tourism, and small-scale industry can attract investment and create jobs, enhancing stability and resilience. This implication also have its disadvantages. While modernization offers many benefits, it also has drawbacks. Small-scale farmers may struggle to afford new technologies, increasing inequality. Furthermore, financial exclusion and lack of educational opportunities entrapping rural households also one of the implications. The harmful effects of exclusion are far-reaching. In education, households headed by individuals with only primary education experience much higher poverty rates. Many rural youth migrate to cities seeking better opportunities but often end up in low-paying jobs, worsening underemployment. In terms of financial services, limited access to credit prevents rural households from investing in businesses or education. Move to positive consequences. Despite these challenges, there are opportunities for transformation. Expanding financial services through microfinance and cooperative can empower rural entrepreneurs by providing affordable loans. Affordable financial initiatives can enhance resilience against economic shocks. Addressing these issues offers several long-term advantages. Workforce development prepares rural youth for emerging job markets, boosting productivity. This can support industries like agro-processing and tourism in rural regions. However, implementation is not without its disadvantages. Systemic barriers such as poorly designed programs can exclude the most vulnerable populations. Corruption or lack of awareness may further limit access to financial services. Finally, exclusion of vulnerable rural and indigenous communities also one of the implications. Move to harmful effects, ethnic-based policies like the new economic policy have historically uplifted urban Malays while neglecting rural and indigenous populations, especially in Sabah and Sarawak. Wealthier and politically connected individuals often benefit the most, leaving marginalized groups behind. We proceed to the positive consequences. Transitioning to the needs-based policies could ensure resources are allocated based on socio-economic vulnerability rather than ethnicity. This shift would address the root causes of poverty in underserved, rural, and indigenous communities. Talk about advantages. Adopting needs-based policies promote equitable development, uplifting disadvantaged population across regions and ensuring no group is left behind. Next is disadvantages. However, such reforms face resistance due to entrenched political interests and the deeply rooted nature of ethnic-based policies in Malaysia. Effective implementation requires strong governance and transparent resource allocation, but there are risks of management.
Hi everyone, I am Mirna and I will presenting the recommendations to prevent rural poverty in Malaysia. First is by implementing social welfare program. Do you hear One Azam before? One Azam is a Malaysia program that have employment opportunities. The first program is IKASE that we familiar with. Households that earn less than 1,000 per month in the rural residents and 1,500 per month for city dwellers are eligible for registration. Next is Azam Kerja that gives opportunities to people with little formal education and who lack in abilities to apply for this program. The second recommendation is community engagement and education. 3 locations have been chosen to test for poverty eradication and sustainability development. The Prime Minister launched a new economic model to give access to higher education and employment opportunities. This can guarantee the escape from poverty. The third suggestion will be multi-dimensional approaches. The government has created the Rural Mega Leap Program Lonjakan Mega Luar Bandar, to eradicate rural poverty. PLMLB enhance income and quality of life and promotes development in rural areas. For example, agro-politan projects were enacted by an economist, John Friedman, in 1974. It helps in emphasizing the agricultural sector to eliminate poverty. Participant selection will be based on the poverty income line and listed in IKASE. Lastly, ecotourism. The National Ecotourism Master Plan helps transform the local community and promotes rural, social, and economic. During conducting the household survey, a total of 1,439 households from 44 villages were successfully interviewed. They did their income through socio-economic activities such as agriculture, ecotourism, collecting bamboo and rattan for handicrafts, and collecting herbs for traditional medicine. Other than that, the poverty level was measured to know the level of poverty in each country in Malaysia. Negeri Sembilan with the highest rate, followed by Kedah, Perlis, and Perak.
For the conclusion, the issue of poverty in rural areas remains a pressing subject that requires numerous approaches to be effectively addressed. There are 2 main strategies used in Malaysia to solve this issue: agropolitan projects and ecotourism, both which demonstrates a diversified approach to rural development. Moving on to the summary of key findings. Firstly, higher rural poverty rates. Malaysia's rural area have greater rates of poverty than its urban areas, which shows the ongoing differences in social and economic prospect. The government's introductions of programs such as Rural Mega Leap Program is an example of measures to improve rural earnings and living standard in order to counteract this. Next is Agropolitan Initiative, which was modified by John Friedman's developmental model. Agropolitan programs target extreme poverty through 3 pillars: physical, economic, and human capital. Third is role of ecotourism. Ecotourism is another crucial tactic that combines socio-economic growth with environmental preservation. Ecotourism have been used to empower local communities and advance environmental sustainability since the National Ecotourism Master Plan was introduced in 1996. According to the findings, non-timber forest products and ecotourism-related activities are major sources of family income for community inside and close to protected areas. However, in other areas like Negeri Sembilan and Kedah, the removal of such revenue stream might increase poverty rates by as much as 9%, underscoring the vital role that ecotourism plays in maintaining rural economic stability. Next, implications for policy. First and foremost, it is crucial to integrate developmental programs. The advantages for rural communities can be maximized by coordinated strategies that blends ecotourism development with agropolitan projects. As demonstrated by the agropolitan projects, infrastructure's expenditure ought to coexist alongside ecotourism and other sustainable economic endeavors. This two-pronged strategy can raise living standards and offer a long-term revenue potentially. Other than that is tailored poverty frameworks. Prioritizing homes included in the IKASE database is one way that initiatives like the Agropolitan Project have shown success. Nonetheless, such frameworks must be continuously improved. The accuracy and effectiveness of this intervention can be improved by reviewing and modifying the Poverty Income Line (PLI) to take into account contemporary economic circumstances such as inflation and changes in the cost of living. And lastly, to have sustainable practices. Sustainable ecotourism practices can help create a balance between the environment and economy. Guidelines for environmentally friendly operations and rewards for companies that put conservation first should be part of these policies. These actions guarantee that economic expansion does not come at a price of environmental deterioration by protecting natural resources and providing revenue for nearby communities. Among the implications for practitioners, including community engagement. Community engagement is a key component since local communities' active involvement is necessary for poverty alleviation initiative to succeed. In order to comprehend residents' unique requirements and make sure that their opinions are acknowledged throughout decision-making, practitioners should make sure to collaborate closely with them. By doing so, it can encourage a sense of accountability and ownership among community members. Not only that, building capacity is another crucial area that aims to provide rural populations with the knowledge and ability necessary to become self-sufficient. Locally specific training programs, whether in ecotourism, agriculture, or business endeavors, can assist locals in making most of their resources. Economic results, for instance, can be greatly enhanced by specialized training for managing ladang sejahtera or ecotourism-related services. Lastly, practitioners must give monitoring and evaluation top priority. Finding implementation gaps can be facilitated by establishing precise success criteria, such as employment rates, income growth, and community satisfaction. Last but not least, implication for stakeholders. For private sectors, they can make a substantial contribution by investing in rural communities. Collaboration between corporations and local communities to establish sustainable industry, such as eco-lodges and agricultural processing facilities, can result in job creation and increased household income. For example, businesses might collaborate with rural communities to improve the value chains of commodity crops such as oil palm and rubber. Not only that, NGOs can supplement this initiative by providing expertise and resources that are not often available within the official settings. NGOs can also help with capacity building by organizing seminars, training programs, and community awareness campaigns suited to the unique requirement of rural communities. And finally, international cooperation. International organizations and donors can provide technical and financial aid, allowing Malaysia to scale up activities such as agropolitan and ecotourism initiative. By sharing global best practices in poverty alleviation, sustainable development, and community empowerment can improve the efficacy of this measure. And that is all from our group. Thank you for listening.